Hi, good morning everyone. David Cross. And this is video 2 of my Windows 2012-2016 DHCP conversion utility that I'm using the prototyping in Node-RED, and actually maybe the end product when I'm done, but allowing us to take and automatically upload a XML file that is really the DHCP export of a 2012-2016 server, and to copy that into a specific directory that's being watched where it gets processed and creates the various exports or imports that we're going to use for importing that information into IPControl, and then also the ability to do something with that data post creating the file, such as email, copy, delete, or redirecting a client, let's say through a web page, once it's complete, that they can go and download their project files. So something along those lines, which we're going to get to as we kind of evolve this project. But in this particular case, I added a couple of features. One is a switch to monitor that state, the CSV and the mail function. So in the extract function that I've written, that's actually pulling together the arrays that we're going to pass through for monitoring and to create the files, I added a couple of parameters and changes. The first is I'm going to set a new property in the message that's going to say whether it's done, and I'll go into that. But the default value of done is false. And what that done is going to represent is that it has processed all of the for loops, the inner loops of the options, and that has processed all the reservations and scopes, and that has created all of these files and has run their equivalent node send message to the next payload, which is a switch node, and I'll show you, so that we can determine is it still processing files and options and scopes and reservations, or is it done and we can continue on to the next step where we do something with those results, such as email. And so as we get down into this process now, the file name I've converted to the proper CSV extension. And at the very end here, I'm returning now the message and the payload, but I'm unsetting the file name. I just don't want any confusion, so I'm deleting that value. And I'm setting the message down to true so that when the message reaches switch, I'm then going to look at the property message done. If it is false, meaning it's still creating the array and files, continue the output to, or send that output to output 1. And output 1 in this case is the CSV file writer. And output 2 is true, meaning it's complete. We'll send it to output 2, and this will then run the mail function, which will build out our mail, the actual email, and then send it out through our mailer. Now, the JSON to CSV converter I found through the palette, and through the palette, if you're using the standard Node-RED installation, should be available to you. If you're using the BT Cloud Automation Appliance, I don't think it is. So in that case, we may have to come back and write a function to show you the CSV and JSON conversion. But for this particular node, it's node-red-contrib-json to CSV. And that will appropriately take a payload of JSON and convert it to CSV. And it worked very well for what I needed, so I went ahead and implemented that here. And in the done portion of this, I'm going to actually create the email. So my first thing is I want to create a text body. This is really what's going to be returned in the body itself. And I'm just putting something simple. Hello, here are your files. Thank you. Goodbye. The mailer I'm using, the mailer node itself, accepts a message input, and in the message input, defining the properties from, to, subject, and text, as well as the attachments, allowed me to construct the entire email and also attach all of these files, which I'm looking to do. And once I'm done with this email, I could follow up and move these to an archive or something else further. And then we're just going to pass this message into the payload and return this for the next node, which is the mailer. Now the mailer I'm using is off the social function tab there, and it allows you effectively to have your own SMTP host, setting up your port and whether secure or unsecure, and then you set up your user credentials. I'm not going to show you my other one there, but you can do the same there and test yours. And ultimately what we should have then is when we copy this file, we'll have the file being uploaded, the monitor kicking off. We're also going to see that it's been processed and that it's basically complete and moving the objects here. And so what we should expect then is an email which is going to give us when it's done and that there's a file update. So we should expect here in a second that that email should pop up, and we'll have the updates there. There we go. So now once we open this information, you'll see there's scope, CSV, and options reservations. Now at this point, these are still in the format that we have not yet converted. So I will need to go back, and I'm going to need to convert these files to their appropriate import format. And as I create this out, I'm going to have some type of input, which will be most likely a web page that the client will be able to connect to and upload this file, or that we can upload, setting up some of the other parameters like the email address that I'm going to use, the from and who, and everyone else, and the ability to maybe specify some of the policies or properties that we want to set at the time that we create these import files, like description names or server names or things that are going to be interpopulated with this data at some point. All right, so there's a few things we need to still consider and go through, and I'm going to go to the next step here, which will be to create the import file formatter that before I write to the CSV, so that I can now go out and create the specifics for those various files. And that'll be the bigger portion of this and take most of the coding, I'm sure. And from there, we should have those appropriate files and something that should be able to convert that for you. All right, so I wanted to just show you that again, and I'm sorry I can't show you the data still, but I'm close, and I'm going to go ahead and build out one of my 2012 servers and get that config working, and get it loaded enough that I can do at least some stress testing against this, maybe something like 10 or 20,000 subnets or something. Same with reservations, and build that out with API. Maybe I'll do the video where I show building the API, building that data. Who knows? All right, so that's it for the day, and I will follow up on another video probably tomorrow, and touching on the next subjects of these or anything else that inspires me in the next day or so. All right, well, take care and have a great day. Almost the end of the week, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.